Hello, a very good evening, all of you. I hope everybody is doing fine. Welcome back to yet another session of Big Bull Ki Pathshala. So this session as well, we have a very interesting topic with us. As the name suggests, we're going to talk about the various law entrances. So as we all know that the CLAT and the AILET exams are about to approach, they're almost 6 months away. So we thought of coming up with the session to help you decide and begin your preparations for the various law entrances. So in this particular session, we'll be discussing about CLAT, AILET, and SLAT, how you should begin your preparations with, what all things you should keep in mind, how you should go about with the different sections of the exam or the mocks and the other aspects of it as well. And for same, we have a very special guest with us, who herself has been through the same journey, who qualified for the CLAT exam, for the AILET exam, as well as for the SLAT exam. And we thought she would be like somebody really appropriate for you to guide you through this process. We'd also take up questions from you. If you have any questions, any queries relating to how to begin with your preparations, how to go about with it, any queries regarding it, because I understand after your 12th class or during your 12th class, it perhaps would be the first exam, first national level entrance test that you might be preparing for, and you can have multiple questions about it. You can have so many doubts, so many queries about it, and to get it answered from somebody who has gone through the entire process herself would be quite pivotal from the preparations point of view. So before I go ahead and invite her for the session, let me give a little background about the exams. So talking about the CLAT exam, CLAT is the entrance to the NLUs, that is National Law Universities. So to get admissions into the 22 NLUs, we conduct the CLAT exam. It has 5 sections, and each section is equally important from the exam point of view. Talking about the AILET exam, AILET is conducted for admissions into NLU Delhi. And then we have SLAT. SLAT is for admissions into the various undergraduate courses of law for symbiosis. So we, again, repeating, will be discussing about these exams in depth today. So if you have any questions, any queries relating these exams or what our special guest would be talking about today, please feel free to post it in the comment section. We'll be more than happy to help you out. So I'm looking at this session from a point of view of a student who has little or almost no idea about the exam, who maybe has heard about the exam from somebody and had a dream or had an aspiration to pursue law as a career. So this session is for somebody like that, somebody who is not really aware about, let's say, the exam pattern, about what an NLU is, or what are the career options that you have after a CLAT or after pursuing a career in law as well. So we are keeping it that way. So we will be helping you out regarding all the aspects about the exam. So without any further ado, please allow me to invite a very special guest for the evening, Ms. Tajdeep. Let me tell you, she qualified for the CLAT exam, she qualified for the AILET exam, she qualified for the SLAT exam, and she is a bright student. And that you'll come to know once you start listening to her, how enlightened she is. And she converted NLU Delhi by qualifying for the AILET exam. So hi Tajdeep, welcome to the session, and we're very happy to have you with us today.
Thank you so much, ma'am. A very good evening. Well, it's always a pleasure to talk to the BullsEye team, and that introduction was really great. So thank you so much.
Well, you deserve all of it, Tajdeep. You've earned all these laurels, so you deserve such kind of an introduction. So before I begin, why don't you tell our audiences about yourself? Give us a brief introduction, please.
All right. So as everyone now know that I'm Tajdeep Kaur. I'm currently studying in National Law University, Delhi. Recently, my exams of second year got over, and I will be joining in third year from the August. I prepared for CLAT for 2 years, and today I'm here sitting.
All right, so let's begin from the very beginning. Let's know you a little personally. So that will help us get a little background about you, Tajdeep. So where are you from, basically?
So I hail from Ludhiana, Punjab. Like I was born and brought up here only.
Okay. Okay, great, great. So tell us something about Ludhiana. How is Ludhiana as a city?
Well, I would say that Ludhiana as a city is really beautiful, and more, like it's really accessible. Like you do
Uh-huh.
have the resources. Like if you talk about study, you have that. If you talk about enjoyment, you have that. So it's a
Uh-huh.
great city.
Right, right, right. And what does your family do?
So as far as my family is concerned, I belong from a nuclear family, a middle class
Okay.
nuclear family to say that.
Yeah.
And my mother works in a pharmaceuticals industry. My
Mm-hmm.
father deals in property. And I
Mm-hmm.
have one elder brother who is
Mm-hmm.
currently pursuing MBBS from AIMS Bhubaneswar.
Oh, nice. Like pure family mein everybody is intelligent. हाँ, ताजकीर. It's in the genes, maybe. Okay, great. So you just have one brother, elder brother, I'm
Yes,
assuming, right?
yes.
Okay, so where did you have your schooling from? Was it from Ludhiana only?
Yes, from Ludhiana only. Till
Okay,
10th, I studied in an ICSE board. It was Sacred
okay.
Heart Convent School, Jamalpur, Ludhiana. And I
Mm-hmm.
did my plus one and plus two from BCM Arya Model School, Shastri Nagar. And
Mm-hmm.
there I did it from humanities background.
Okay, humanities. That's interesting. What all subjects should you have in humanities?
So I had English, political science, economics,
Mm-hmm.
geography, and physical education.
Okay, great, great. So, if you don't mind sharing with us, what was the score in your 12th boards?
So it was 99.2%.
Mm-hmm.
And I was the school
Wow.
topper as well as second in the district.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, Tajdeep, 99.2%. That must have been quite flattering for you. Yeah. So have you always been really good in studies, or was it something that happened in 12th class only, or have you always been bright?
To be frank, it was from the fifth class that I became really serious about studies and
Okay.
paying attention to it, like thinking it, yes, this is something which I have to do. Studies mein to excel karna hi karna hai. So it was. So since then, I
Mhm.
was quite serious, like a good student, I would say.
Okay, that's amazing. That's great. And what were your hobbies in school? What did you used to do in your free time?
So I really like dancing, and the time when I was in my sixth class, I also dreamt of being an actor. I don't know how that came to my mind, but yes.
Mhm.
So I was good at dancing. It was a hobby. Then I
Mhm.
also liked reading, but I
Okay.
was not too much into it. But yes,
Mhm.
and then it was mainly doing physical activities like yoga, exercise. That was about hobbies.
Nice, nice. So you mentioned that you are from humanities background, right? And you did not have legal studies as a subject. So how did you think of going or pursuing a career in law? Was it always planned or was it a spontaneous decision? Please tell us about that.
All right. So I usually feel that when a child grows up, they are like he or she is basically exploring their interests. And so was I. So as I
Mhm.
told in sixth class, I also dreamt of becoming an actor, though that's nothing which I think now. So at
Uh-huh.
that time also when I was exploring,
Mhm.
I found I was really fascinated with judiciary, like with the image of a judge.
Mhm.
Right. And I knew how a medical field looks like because my mother is in medical field and my brother also opted for this. So I was
Mhm.
not basically inclined towards it. I did like science, but I was not passionate for it. So
Mhm.
initially it was just a fascination with the figure of a judge and then
Okay.
understanding how the society works. As
Mhm.
I grew up, I actually realized how important law is for the society. Like
Mhm.
when I started reading newspaper, I
Mhm.
realized like people are even ready to give away their lives to change
Mhm.
just one single law.
True.
So I was really interested in understanding the impact of law and how people impact the law in return. So but the time once I got into the law school, then the perspective changed a bit more. Like now I find myself studying law for the sake of the law only. Like it's really interesting subject. I don't
Mhm.
see like I want to reach at a particular end. I am
Mhm.
just enjoying the process right now. So that's how my perspective towards law changed and why I chose it initially.
I think that's a very interesting thing to understand that you're actually interested in the process. Usually, what people do is they are always focused on the end result. कि graduation khatam ho jaye, so I'll be a graduate and then I can do this and I can do that. But there are very few people who actually enjoy the process, the things that are in between that journey that I think is very, very important. I'm really happy to see how, again, I would use the word enlightened you were at such a young age that you had so much of clarity about what you want to do. Because a lot of people, even in their 11th or 12th, even during their college, are not really sure as to how they want to go ahead, with a career or for that matter with their life. So I'm really happy to see that you were so enlightened from the very beginning. That's really great, Tajdeep.
Thank you, Pavni.
Okay, so apart from the CLAT, AILET, and the SLAT exam, were there any other entrances that you appeared for?
No, I didn't.
Okay. Did you have CUET at the time that you were appearing for these exams?
I guess we had that,
Mm-hmm.
but I didn't think of going to DU. Like even my 12th teachers told me that you have got such a good percentage of 99.2% and you can easily get into DU. But like that was not an idea.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Right. I mean, what can be better than an NU Delhi anyway?
Yes.
So it's all well that ends well, as the saying goes, right? Okay, so now I'm talking from a student's point of view who let's say is in 12th class right now. Because the
Yes.
people who will be appearing for CLAT 24 would be in the 12th right now, would be undergoing maybe having summer vacations as of now, but should be in the 12th class. And the exam for the CLAT this year is set to take place on 3rd of December, right? And also, I don't know if a lot of people know about it or not. I should again repeat it, that with CLAT, what happens is it has recently started. The exam takes place a year prior. So, for example, on December 3rd, 2023, there will be an exam for CLAT 2024. That means we'll be enrolling for the year 24, not 23. So it has started taking place from, I think, last year onwards. This change has occurred, right? So a student who is in 12th right now, how can he or she balance the preparations for the CLAT exam and for the boards? Because CLAT, like I said, is set for 3rd of December. AILET is set for 10th of December, right? And during the December period only, you also have your pre-boards if you're somebody from CBSE or even for that matter from ICSE board as well. So what strategy or tips did you implement while preparing for your entrance test, and how did you balance it with your boards?
All right. So like beginning of my preparation, I started in +1. Right.
Mm-hmm.
And that time the pattern of CLAT exam was a bit different. Like
Mm-hmm.
right now we have it reading intensive. It was not that reading intensive that time. And the
Mm-hmm.
static portion also covered a good part of GK. So the main idea was in +1 to basically do the static part to understand the concepts. Like if I talk about English, it was basically doing vocabulary and grammar and just working on the reading skills. Then about maths, it was doing concepts. Then in logical also, like mainly the focus was on getting a conceptual clarity and then doing the static part of the GK. And in +1, I also gave attention to my schools as well. So I was a bit light on my preparation. So I would say that the main preparation began in 12th only. But in 12th, we know like at that time, COVID came and our classes were mainly online. So the idea was not to focus on the schools too much. Like if I have any test, then I will prepare for it just one day before it, right? Like just for a few hours and dedicate most of my day to CLAT and AILET preparation. Right. And even at the time when my exams approached, like pre-board, we didn't have boards at that time. So at the time of the pre-boards, I would just go to the teachers and ask them, like, please let me know what are the important topics that I should cover. So like I did that way. I did not pay much attention to my school. And the teachers were really good enough to help me out. And I also found the CBSE a bit easier because like in my 10th also I had the social science background, so and it was from ICSE board, so like most of the syllabus coincided with CBSE ka +1 and +2, so it was comparatively easier for me, I think, because I had that background already. So like I dedicated my +2 to CLAT preparation only, and I did not focus on the schools too much. Now, talking about the students who are currently in the plus two, I would say, I guess the board exams, they would start in 2024, somewhere around March, right? So
Mhm.
it would be better to focus solely on your CLAT IELTS preparation and
Mhm.
to just keep to the sideline the school
Mhm.
preparation for the time being and just do the essential parts, like after every second day you are just dedicating some around 2 to 3 hours to your school, because after all we have to prioritize what we have to do. It's your choice where you want to go. If you are serious of appearing for CLAT and of cracking it, then just focus on it. Like board
Mhm.
marks don't really matter for that.
Mhm. True, true. But then also, for example, if somebody is preparing for CUET, it's different for different people, right? So there might be an aspirant who is taking up the CUET exam, also he's taking up the CLAT exam, also an AILET exam, also he's also trying to target all the central universities, Delhi universities, I'm sorry, and private universities and their law programs also, just to be on the safer side. So with CUET, what happens is a board score is important, right? Because let's say if there is a tie, if two people are scoring the same in the CVT exam, so the tiebreaker would be a 12th board. So it's not like the 12th board is not important, right?
Hmm.
And of course, it's about the prioritization and of course the institute that you're targeting. Like for example, in your case, you knew that okay, I have to get into an NLU only, so you did not appear for the other entrances. So if you have that clarity, then that's fine. But then again, if it depends on the agenda, it depends on the end goal that a person is looking at, right? So listening to your answer, I have another query, because I get these queries very often from students. So one general query that I get is, ma'am, how much time is enough for preparations for an entrance exam? So in your case, you started preparing in your 11th class, so technically you had 2 years for preparations. Majority of people might not start from their 11th class, they might start now is June, almost end of June. So they have precisely 6 months for preparation, right? And maybe there's somebody who, let's say, started preparing from January, so he had 12 months for preparation. So do you think there is any distinct difference between, taking 24 months for preparations or taking 6 months for preparations or 12 months for preparation, or is it just solely on strategy, how you go ahead with it?
Well, so coming to that question, I feel that the time does matter. Like, if you are starting to prepare early, it does matter a lot, because after all, this exam is a skill-based exam. If you
True.
have this skill, then it's completely fine. If
Mhm.
you are good at reading and you have been into reading for so much long time, then I
Mhm.
guess those 6 months period will also work for you. You
True.
will do great in that period as well. But
Mhm.
in case like you are a person who is not that much into reading and you need to develop that habit, you need to develop that skill, then you
Mhm.
need time, and it will
Mhm.
vary from person to person. So
True.
starting early is always an edge, but in case
Mhm.
you have a good background, then obviously six
Mhm.
months are also good enough. And if you are
True.
willing to dedicate enough time to your preparation, you're able to recognize what your weak areas are and then
Mhm.
prioritize your time accordingly. I guess six
Mhm.
months period is good enough for that.
Right, right. So it's basically depends on the strategy, and also because the speciality with the CLAT and the AILET exams is that you have paragraph-based questions, right? So whatever section that we're talking about, all of the questions will be the paragraph format, followed by a couple of sub questions that you're supposed to answer, right? And which are MCQ. So in that case, I believe in any which way, if you're somebody who's planning to pursue a career in law, you need to be very adamant readers, because reading is a very, very important skill. So do you think that is also important with somebody who's not a very active reader, or does not really like reading? So do you think there is no scope for them in law, or they can make their way through it slowly, steadily? What do you think? What is your take on that?
All right. So talking about first of all the paper. Now, CLAT and IELTS are not just are not just exams to test your skills, to test your knowledge. They are to test your personality as a whole and your habits as well. Because
Okay.
after all, when you come to a law college, you really get to realize that you have to do so many readings. Like we
Right.
get readings even going up to 200 pages, right?
Right.
And then the time management also becomes important. So it's
True.
not just about your skills or about your knowledge. It also matters what habits you follow, what kind of time management you follow.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel that it's a process, right? And it it will always depend upon how much time you take. Like it will vary from case to case. So slowly and steadily, one can definitely uh, develop that skill of reading, can definitely nurture that time management skill as well. And
Mhm.
it is something which is, I feel it is essential. Like
Okay,
you can't say that if you are not a good reader, if you're not into reading, then you will be able to qualify. No, you have to read.
true. That's a required skill, right? Okay, right. So as we know, as we all know that there are 5 sections in the CLAT exam. We have a verbal section, that's English. We have a reasoning section. Then we have a quant section, that's maths. Then you have a legal section, legal reasoning. And then you have a GK and a current affairs section. So let's go to each of these sections one by one and let's talk about how did you prepare for them. So let's begin with verbal because I think verbal is something which is common in all the 5 sections because all of the questions are going to be in that format. So take on English needs to be really good. So how did you prepare or what was your strategy for the verbal section? How did you prepare for it?
All right. So I will be dividing English into like 3 components. First one would be the reading part, second would be vocabulary, and third would be grammar and literary devices and like auxiliary topics. So for like these all are the 3 main components of any of the exams you're appearing for, whether it's CLAT or AILET or SLAT. So for reading, it was basically doing newspaper reading every day. In plus one, I did read newspaper, but I did not focus that much on the current affairs. And I read it for the purpose of verbal only. Right. So I would read the newspaper, its editorials, and then from that only I would do vocabulary also. So like newspaper was the must thing. It helped me in reading. Second thing which I followed daily was having a 1 hour reading session, and that reading session would involve passages from different genres, from different topics. Like some would be from legal, some would be from say philosophy, some would be from science, technology, etc. Like I basically found that when we read some novel or some book, it's a good reading practice, but it actually engrosses us too much that if we are not able to make meaning of a particular sentence or like a few sentences, then still we are able to grasp what the author is trying to say, and we get a really good context in case of the books and in case of the novels. But the CLAT or the AILET, whenever they put in passages, we do not get a good developed context. And we have to shift from one passage to another passage that even our mind might not settle. So I wanted to familiarize myself with that kind of intensive practice, which is required for mocks. So I would sit down for 1 hour, and that would usually be in morning or in night before sleeping. And for that 1 hour, I would do intensive reading of different topics. Next, like this was something which I did for reading. I also read that book by Norman Lewis, How to Read Better and Faster. Like I really found it helpful. It gives us various techniques how we can increase our reading speed while understanding better. So that's like this is something which I did for reading, and it was consistent. Second is vocabulary. So for vocabulary, as I already mentioned, it was basically doing editorials and then seeing what words I don't know, what terms I don't understand, and the phrases and idioms, etc. Then I also read the book of that Norman Lewis book, Word Power Made Easy. So it was consistent. Like I guess in my plus one, I completed that book, and in plus two, I revised that book for I guess 2 times. So that was really helpful in building the roots, knowledge of the roots. And third thing was I really liked doing vocabulary quizzes. And there is one app of vocabulary.com. So I would usually appear for quizzes there. And often I also refer to the coaching material because that was also really good. So this was for vocabulary in English. Coming forward to grammar and auxiliary topics. So I basically focused on it in my plus one, because in plus one, the pattern which we thought would be coming was different. It was not the current one. So I had done my grammar topics in plus one. In plus two, it was mainly revising them for the AILET purpose and other law entrances. And this was what I did for English, like these 3 components and the focus. Next, I think I should move on to logical. Would it work?
Let's talk about. Before that, I would also want to tell our audiences, even you, that this year for CLAT 2024, there is a change in the exam pattern. So earlier we used to have 150 questions. This time we're going to have 120 questions. And these 120 questions, they will be evenly divided in all the 5 sections there. So again, there's a relief. The syllabus, however, the duration of the exam, everything remains the same. It's just that the number of questions have been reduced. So instead of 150 questions, this year we'll be having 120 questions only for the exam, right? So let's talk about English. We have already spoken. Let's talk about logical reasoning now. Yeah.
All right. So in logical reasoning, like it was not that good part for me. Like I was a bit weak in that. And like English was a strong part. So as far as logical is concerned, so I would usually confuse in the parts like assumption, inference, etc. So it was mainly working on my concepts first. So I would just work on these concepts, refer to a coaching material, like basically bullseye material. And then after doing my concepts from there, I would appear for concept specific tests. Right. And once I'm satisfied, all right, I have understood it well, then I would start attempting mock related sectional tests. So it was mainly working on my concepts for logical. Further, we can also divide it into two, like verbal reasoning and non-verbal reasoning. So non-verbal reasoning was a bit like refreshing part for me. Like if I feel that yes, the preparation is getting a bit monotonous, so I would sit down and do the non-verbal reasoning part, and it was interesting also, and I found it easier comparatively. So it was mainly first of all working on the concepts, then doing practice. So that was all.
So let me cut you there. So when you're dividing your reasoning into verbal and non-verbal, so what all topics were there in verbal and what all topics were there in non-verbal?
So I basically refer to my coaching material. So what the syllabus they had provided, I tried to ensure that I'm doing all those topics. And I also refer to a few reference books, like there was this Arihant book on this logical reasoning. So I would just do topics from there. So in verbal reasoning, it was mainly doing assumptions, conclusions, inferences, etc. And in non-verbal reasoning, it was like arrangement, data sets, etc. So those all topics. And like I was a bit more regular with verbal reasoning. Like I would try to ensure I'm doing it after either every day or after every second day. And in case of non-verbal reasoning, it was like maybe after every third day I would do it.
Right. So if I ask you what, according to you, was the most difficult topic in reasoning, which you were like absolutely petrified of, or you were like, what was that topic for you?
So like I analyzed it through my mocks only, and I would get my maximum questions wrong of assumption. So I don't know why. Like I also tried to work on it a lot many times. Like it was better by the end of my preparation. But yes, it was something I doubted myself on very much. Like I will get it wrong.
Okay, now let's talk about the subject that I immensely hate, that I've always hated throughout my life, and I was very, very bad at it. That's math font. So we have 10th standard basic math in CLAT, as well as AILET and for SLAT as well. We do not have any higher math. We do not have calculus. We do not have trigonometry. So what was the strategy for that? And of course, apart from memorizing the formulas and everything, how did you prepare for it?
All right. So, as far as quantitative techniques is concerned, so it's a bit different from what we do till 10th level. We learn so long formulas, etc. But if we talk about our exam, we have minimum times, and I had divided like I will be devoting maximum 15 minutes to this section, not more than that. So I liked doing it, but however, doing it in short time, it was a bit difficult for me. So I had to ensure that I'm doing short tricks. And it was not something like I sit down, I will be studying those tricks. It was like I'm moving here and there, I'm having my dinner or lunch. I would keep my formulas notebook in front of me and keep doing it. So mainly, like I would first of all pick one concept. Like as soon as I am done with that concept, I will practice questions of various levels, beginning with easy, moderate, then difficult, and then appear for its tests. So, and maths is something which many people miss on, but I find that most of the toppers and most of the students whom I am mentoring right now, they did fear it, but they still appeared for it. Like they did try to give their best for it, because anyway in 15 minutes you can get really good, really decent score in that. So one should not completely sideline this subject. They should keep doing it, at least keep doing the concepts which you like right now we have data sets in like data interpretation in quantitative techniques, and it does not require too much. It's basically like percentage, ratio, proportion. When these basic concepts are clear, then we can get decent score in QT. So it's better not to focus on very difficult concepts like permutation, combination. Yes, we do often get questions on that, but need not spend too much time on it if you are not a really good student in mathematics or you don't enjoy doing it. Just focus on the basic concepts, because those are some universal concepts which will come anyway, they will come in exams. So it was mainly doing those basic concepts first, focusing on practice and appearing for tests.
That sounds so easy when said, but it's very difficult when done, right? Okay, so that was about quant. Now let's talk about legal. Now with legal, what I feel is that one particular section that you have not done before. That's something which is entirely new to you. Like I believe even for reasoning, a little bit of Olympiad and everything everybody has done. So there's still a little bit of familiar about the topics that might come for that particular section. But for legal, it's like absolutely alien for somebody who has not studied legal studies in his 12th class, for example, right? So I would want to know, how did you begin with the legal studies? I mean, because at times it does happen, I've sourced them, because there's so much to do, right? So how did you begin with it, and then how did you follow up with the upcoming days with the preparation?
Oh, yes. So when we do not know particular subject, the best thing is to develop your familiarity with it. And this is something which I tried to do. And developing familiarity was basically from the previous year papers first.
Mm-hmm.
What's the structure? How does it look like? And how does it feel to do those questions?
Mm-hmm.
So I would just, when I started, I just solved a few mocks to see like how does this paper look like, and
Mm-hmm.
whether I am comfortable doing such kind of papers or not. So for legal, it was mainly doing the previous year questions first of all, and seeing what kind of concepts come. And then I read this book of AP Bhardwaj, because according to Patron at that time, and from that I got pretty much clarity of various concepts of like tort, contract law, criminal law, etc. After that, it was to basically raise the level a bit higher, and I started reading legal news also, because when the patron changed, we came to know, all right, now the passages would be inclined towards news related legal reasoning. So I would just focus on reading a few articles from these websites like Live Law, Bar and Bench. As I told that I used to have a reading session in the morning of around 1 hour. In that reading session only, I included some passages from legal section also.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So it would provide me a good start for the day. And also if I feared any subject, then I would feel like, all right, now I can begin doing those subjects. So for legal, it was mainly developing familiarity. So doing intensive reading with respect to like legal field. And secondly, understanding legal terms, because many a times we see that the terms which we use in our daily in like daily language, it might not have the same meaning as when it is used in the legal language. So for that, understanding and learning legal words was one of the main things. And for that, I would just refer to my coaching material. I would do some maxims and legal terms from there on daily basis. Further, whenever I attempted any sectional test or mock, it was basically when I analyze, it is not just the analysis of the answers or the questions, it was analysis of the complete passage. For that passage, I would just like, for example, if a passage has come on trademark, then I would search on trademark, I would read about it for 10 minutes, and then I would also see what are the terms used in the passage which I do not understand, and then search for it on Google or refer to the material which I have and write it down in my notebook. So for legal, it was like, first of all, getting my concepts clear from a book like AP Bhardwaj, and then moving forward to legal passages, legal news, and then attempting my sectional tests. and analyzing them thoroughly.
Right, that's quite intense and in-depth preparation, Tajdeep. I'm really, really happy that you really are elaborating it in such a great manner that will be very, very useful for the audiences as they actually go through the entire video. Such information that you're providing. It's really, really good. Thank you so much. Okay, now finally, let's talk about GK and current affairs. Again, with GK and current affairs, the thing is you have two types of GK. You have static GK and then you have current GK, correct? So static GK is factual. The things that do not change over the time and which would also include history, geography, and topics like those. And current GK is the news, the things that are happening around every day, changing every day, which is static. So how did you go ahead with that? And also, I feel the major problem that people face with GK and for that matter, even with the legal section, is memorizing. No matter how many notes you make, even if somebody is preparing for 2 years, you would have so much of concept, so much of content to memorize. So how did you prepare for the current and the GK section? What was your strategy? And most importantly, what were the factors that helped you memorize the information for a longer period of time?
So, so exam like CLAT and AILET, basically CLAT, they do not require just mugging up the facts. They require a current static integration as of now. So the strategy was mainly to read newspaper daily, see what important topics are, and then doing an in-depth analysis of those topics and learning, like basically making notes of the static portion which is relating to current. That's why I call it current static integration. So but however, in my +1, since the pattern was different, so at that time I focused on static only. I would just refer to one static GK book and also the coaching material, and I did learn history and geography, etc. But right now I feel it's more of an integration thing, and for that you have to just sit down, read your newspaper daily, see what the important topics are, and then research for that on your part only. And that way you get that integration. And as far as memorizing is concerned, so like GK is not something which you can just learn today, mug up it, and you will remember forever. No, it does require revision. It does require replaying. For example, if I talk about the lyrics of a song, like so lyrics of a song are really difficult to learn, but when it keeps on playing again and again, then it really becomes easy. It becomes automatic. For that, in case of GK, we need to put in that effort to replay it again and again. It's not just that one day you have learned it. No, but just make your notes today, go through them, do a revision today, and do a revision of the same, like the next day, a rapid revision of say 15 minutes or 20 minutes, so that you have like it keeps on playing in the front of your brain, right? And for that, I also did, like I would make short notes and I would just paste it in the front of my desk, so that whenever I'm sitting, I am just looking at them and those facts I'm able to remember. And even in the present time, we have some apps, like I heard from my colleagues who referred those apps. So in case you use a smartphone, I didn't use a smartphone at that time. So in case you use that, just download such apps, and then you can just put on information there, and the phone will be giving you notifications of that information whenever you set the timer, like this time I want that notification. So you would be able to remember them. But the one thing which is key for GK is consistency, is your regularity. Like I try to ensure that I'm not missing GK of even one single day when I was in my +2, and it helped me a lot. And how to maintain consistency is like, obviously it's I thought that it is the most priority based section which I have to do. So after my reading session in the morning, I would sit down for GK, read the newspaper, do my GK, like do its analysis and research, etc. And when I'm going to sleep, I would just take a quick revision of the same for around 10 to 15 minutes. So that's how GK went. Further, many times we see when we appear for mocks or sectional tests, we see that there are topics which we did not do earlier and now they're appearing here. So at that time, the analysis of the mock does become very important. And in case of GK analysis, it's like if you have seen an unfamiliar topic, then you have to go back and search about it and learn it. and then keep revising it on a weekly basis, on monthly basis. So that's how GK goes.
That's really informative, Tajdeep. Thank you so much for such in-depth information. Right? And I really, really hope that it will be helpful for the audiences who are listening to us right now, maybe listen to us after the session is done. Right. So all of these 5 sections, of course, as you have already in detail mentioned about each of them, you've told that they are in the paragraph format and how this basic strategy has to be about them. Also, I feel with all of these entrances, a very huge advantage and at times a disadvantage is negative marking. Right, because whatever exam that you have a negative marking in, you always have the leverage of leaving certain questions if you're not really sure about it. Because any which way for any exam that is a negative marking, nobody attempts 100% question paper because that's not a smart move. Even if you're attempting, let's say 50-60% of the question paper with 100% accuracy, you can very easily make the cutoffs, right? You can meet the percentile that is required. So and of course it can be a boom also. Negative marking can be very difficult also to take because at times you're really sure about a question and you attempt it and if it's wrong, again, you're going to lose marks for it. So set selection, I believe, is very, very important for all these exams that have negative marking to be really sure what questions or topics you're going to attempt and the questions or topics that you're going to let go. So what was your strategy for the negative marking? How did you already while preparing left out certain topics ki haan ye negative marking wale hain inko main nahi karungi, or did you do it while you were preparing or once you were done with the syllabus? How did you take up the negative marking part?
Yes. So first of all, talking about that syllabus part. So like the idea was to do the syllabus completely and thoroughly and to analyze what all my weak areas are so that in exam, I do not waste my time on just solving the questions which I'm weak in. So for that, the first of all, most important thing is an analysis. Analyzing where you are weak at in mocks and then choosing what areas you will be attempting and what areas you won't be attempting. For that, one should not give too much time on any one particular question. Like if you have spent, say, for example, 1 to 2 minutes and you think that you cannot basically, you're not able to reach to the answer, no need to spend too much time on it and just move on to the next question. Right. So I have seen students who basically spend too much time on one question and then when they have just few minutes left at the end and they will just do questions in hurry, obviously negative marking will be high because we are not giving too much thought onto it. So first of all, it becomes the thing of selection. Like just go through a particular section when you are just going to attempt it, see what kind of questions there are and what you are going to attempt. Right. Second thing is your time management. Just do not spend too much time on one particular question so that at the end you need not do the questions in hurry. And third part is just doing analysis over and over again. Further, many students also think that they should try to maximize their attempts. But maximizing an attempt is the end result. They should focus on the process. And the process is basically seeing how much time they should give on a particular concept. Further, they need to work on their conceptual clarity, right? So that they are able to better manage their time. And when they have a conceptual clarity, they would anyway be able to do more questions, right? So they should not focus on attempting more questions, rather focus on the process. And the process involves really simple basic steps. That is having conceptual clarity and having a clarity of where you are strong at and where you are weak. That would help.
Very, very, very rightly said. So all the 5 sections that we had for the exam, what according to you? And this I'm talking while the preparation. I'll come once you were when you were appearing for the exam. I'll come to that later. But now, when you were preparing for all these 5 sections, which section, according to you, was the most challenging for you?
So it was logical and legal a bit. Right.
Okay.
So even because since it's 2 years now since I appeared for the test, so today only I was going through my test marks. I was like, I need to be prepared to see what all I did wrong, etc. And I saw that I really scored very less in some of my legal tests and logical tests, and that was once again disheartening for me. So legal and logical a bit challenging. QT was something whereby a few topics were challenging and others were really easy and really interesting for me. So I would say like these were the sections.
And the easiest one, the Makhan section. So what were those?
English and GK.
Okay. I think English, I feel everybody finds English easier, especially I've seen this trend with girls, especially they find English quite easy. With boys, it might be a little different. They might find math easy. But then, yeah, that's something which is very common I've seen amongst people. They tend to find English quite easy. Okay, so Tajship, do we have a sectional timings in the CLAT at the AILET exam, or is it like you're given 2 hours and you can switch between the sections and attempt to whatever you want to attempt? Or how is it?
So it's the latter. Like you have 2 hours and you can switch between the sections. And so if I can just share the strategy, like how I manage the time. So obviously time management, one of the most important keys. Even I say the students that time all of your day. Like many times students just miss on just putting a timer. Like there are students I have seen who would practice questions, but they won't do it under a timer. It won't yield you a result, because after all, if you do a paper like CLAT in 4 hours, I guess you can get easily really good marks. The people are also testing how well you are able to manage your time. That's a skill which you need to have in your law school as well. So for that, it's really important to put on a timer and to have a time division in your mind. Like on every questions, you need to have a limit. So in paper, it was like I would have around 25 minutes reserved for English, then another 30 minutes for logical, then just around 7 to 8 minutes for GK, around 35 minutes for legal, and 15 minutes for QT. And obviously, we can switch between the sections. So I just reserved all the questions which I found difficult for the like section for the end. So that's how I manage.
Yeah, so it's important to time yourself. And also, please highlight for our audience the importance of mocks. How early in your preparation did you start appearing for mock, and how did you analyze the mocks?
All right. So, well, I would say mock is not the test to tell you where you are going to reach. It is a part of your syllabus. It's a part of the process. So I would say when you are starting your preparation, start appearing for mocks also. Like maybe every week you can give one mock. After all, the questions which you will get in the paper are unpredictable, and you need to have that familiarity with the pattern as well. So how do you get to manage your time is through mock. How do you get to develop your strategies is through mocks. So giving mocks is the key, is the most important thing. And more important then is the analysis. So like whenever I appeared for mock, I remember like mock used to be of 2 hours, and I would even spend 5 to 6 hours on analysis only, because that's where we get to know why we did mistakes, where we need to improve. For that, I would say the best strategy for analyzing the mock is to first of all go through the section again without seeing its answers. Like say for example, if it's English section, just see the passage, then just once again go through the passage without a timer, then read the question, see what answer you marked earlier and what answer you think is should be right now, and then match your answer. Right, and see whether it was right or not, and if you got that answer wrong, why was it wrong? Was it because there was some unfamiliarity with the topic or with confusion between the options? And then move on to the next answer, next question. So this is how one should analyze. And as far as GK is concerned, as I already talked about it, like if you see that there is a topic which you have not done, then just go read about it, make your notes for it. And if it's legal and you find that you are not familiar with any topic, then during that analysis time only, just go and read about the topic for around 10 to 15 minutes. So that's how one should do the analysis. And obviously maintain a notebook and keep writing down in that notebook what you got wrong, why you got wrong, and what course of action you have in your mind for it. If it was some concept, if it related to some concept, then you should have course of action like I would do this concept on this particular day as well.
So, out of all the discussion that we have with the preparation, there are 3, 4 key factors that I think I have jotted down that the audiences should keep in mind. So first is you need to be consistent in your preparation. I think that's the most important thing. It should not be like ek din aap 5 ghante pad rahe ho, ek din aap pad hi nahi rahe ho. So it needs to be consistent. Of course, there'll be days when one person would feel really demotivated, might not feel like studying. Things are happening around, you're having farewell, XYZ things, birthday aa rahe hain, ye ho raha hai, wo ho raha hai. But those 2 hours of your preparation should stay intact, irrespective of what the situation is in your personal life. And I think next important thing is, I believe, time management and your familiarity with your areas of strengths and weaknesses, because that will lead to you formulating your strategy. That's again most important thing. And of course, I believe the day that you're appearing for the exam, you need to be really calm, really cool, and then go ahead with the preparations, right? Anything that you want to add to it, Tajdeep?
Yes, ma'am. I would just add one thing like about planning. Planning is really important, and like you just need not like it should not be restricted to planning your day. It should be like planning your month, planning your week, and then planning your day. And for that also, like you need to know the syllabus, you need to have good books, and accordingly just plan out which topics you will be doing. You need to keep your weak areas and strong areas in mind. And just one more thing I have seen, when students plan out their day, make a schedule for it, they would just dedicate some hours, like yes, 8 hours or 5 hours, these are meant for my preparation. But it does not work that way. So you have to give time to your topics, the topics which you have to do. You need to prioritize accordingly. Like it should not be restricted like I will be studying for these much hours. It should be I will be studying these all topics, right? So that you are able to improve, you are able to give time to what is worthy. It's not just like fixing a particular time set.
So it's basically, you should not be quantitative, you should be qualitative. That's important, right?
Yes.
Okay, right. So now that Tajdeep, you have made it to NLU Delhi, you are on the other side. How does it feel, and what are your future plans now?
So when I like got to know that yes, it's NLU Delhi, the excitement was really great. And entering here, I really liked everything very much. So I would just say like the people here are really good. Like we see a diversity of cultures. We see that people are so much approachable as well as accommodative. So the environment here is really great. Yes, there are few plus points and few negative points as well. Just to highlight some like things which I really found could be improved. Like I feel that many a times some courses are really interesting to study, but the professors are not able to deliver it that well. I don't know why, but yes. So I feel like being on this side, I do like the culture, I do like the environment, I also like the studies too much as well as the subjects, but we need to improve on the mode, like the way we are being taught.
Right, right. And what's your schedule? What's your current schedule? I think are you on vacation right now?
Yes, vacations are going on, and I will soon be joining my internship. Like during the vacation, like once our semester gets end, we get vacations for around 2 months, and during that vacations we can undertake internships.
Okay.
All right. So right now I am at my home, and soon in a few days my internship will also be beginning. In our usual day at NLU Delhi, when we have our classes, at that time it's basically 9 to 1:30 classes, and then after that sometimes we do have some tutorial hours, which go up to like 3:45 p.m. And then the day is ours. Like many of the students are engaged in co-curricular activities as well, like mooting, ADR, editorial works, etc. Then we just undertake those. And most of the time we also have project works to do, and like they're quite hefty. Like we have 5 subjects per semester, and for each subject we have to do project, and it's basically a research paper. So most of the time goes there also. So this is the whole day.
That's very, very nice, Tajdeep. And what are your, one more thing, are you residing in the campus only in NLU Delhi, or are you living somewhere outside?
I'm residing in the campus only. Also, I missed that question you asked me about my future plans.
Future plans, yeah.
Yes. So, like right now, I think that I'm moving a bit towards certainty. When I entered, I was a bit uncertain, but now I'm figuring out like what I have to do. And I feel myself inclined more towards like government services, either judiciary or civil services. Like I don't feel inclined towards corporate too, like too much. So like that's the plan as of now, but I'm keeping my doors open. I'm exploring things.
You still have 2 more years to go. It's an integrated course. You have enough time to decide. You will do great, I'm pretty sure. Okay, so the last question for the evening, and then we are done with the interview. So, what was your family's reaction? I'm always really keen to know how did your family react, because I know parents really work very hard for for their children, right? So, what was their reaction knowing that you've made it to NLU Delhi?
Yes. So like my parents, they were really very supportive and they had more expectations from me than I had from myself.
Mhm.
And when the result for CLAT came out, we were really sad for that
Oh,
because like mama and papa thought कि हाँ कि ये Bangalore जाना है, इसने Hyderabad जाना है, and that were obviously the dreams along with NLU Delhi. So वो तो नहीं हुआ and we were a bit sad. I know I spent my whole day crying the next day. Though like people said me that it's a good rank, it's a really good rank 266. But then I thought कि वो तो हुआ ही नहीं ना, like Bangalore and Hyderabad, and I did cry for it. Now we were waiting for NLU Delhi the result, and it was something which I really desperately wanted. कि अगर वो ना होता then like then though I would have thought कि I have not even prepared for anything. So when the result for NLU Delhi came, like that was I guess one of the best moments in my life. So mama was at job, like as I told, she is working, and papa was also at job, and brother was in his own college in Bhubaneswar. I was alone at home. मम्मा said me कि ताज अपना वो क्या कहते हैं रिजल्ट मत देखना, जब मैं घर आऊंगी ना तभी देखेंगे हम. But I could not wait. I
of
had to
course.
say it. So I just saw and I just jumped from my seat कि चलो शुक्र है हो गया.
तो यहाँ तो हो गया कम से कम.
हाँ.
चल.
And then just called up my mama and she was also really excited कि चलो
Mhm.
thank God हो गया इसका.
Of course, and I'm pretty sure you'll do really great in the future also, Tajdeep. You're a very bright student. And I mean, there are certain things that you see in a person, that you see that okay, they are very enlightened, they're very bright, and you are that kind of a student. And I'm pretty sure you'll do really great in your future. I'd want to wish you all the very best for that, right? Keep on making your parents proud, keep on making HitBullsEye proud with your achievements in your future. And thank you so very much for giving us your precious time, for being with us today and talking in depth, talking your heart out about your preparations. And I'm pretty sure the journey would not have been very smooth. It's always a success story once you reach the destination, but the hurdles in between, only the person who's gone through it knows. And I would want to wish you all the very best, right? And would love to get in touch with you again. Please visit us someday at HitBullsEye, and we would love to meet you. And all the very best. Any parting words, any last words for our aspirants who will be appearing for the exam this year?
All right. So first of all, like I really want to thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for all your blessings. Like I really feel very much connected to the HitBullsEye team. Like the teachers here have been really great. So thank you so much. And as far as the coming aspirants are concerned, so I would say them, okay, first of all, believe in yourself, stay confident, just keep on analyzing, just keep on seeing what your weak areas are and working keep working on them. Then the key is your consistency. Like in any competitive exam you basically require three things. First is resources, second is direction, and third is consistency. Resources and direction are something which you have to get from outside. The third thing is consistency, and the person who maintains that consistency makes to the law college. That's something which like every topper will say you that they had been consistent. So I would just say that stay consistent, stay believing in yourselves. There would be points where you will feel really low, then just have a person with whom you can share your feelings, and then just be prepared for the next day. Just be recharged that now I am going to do it. Like just don't lose that consistency and that mental strength.
Thank you so much, Tajdeep, once again. Have a good weekend. And thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And all you people out there, thank you so much for watching the session. In case you're watching it after it's recorded, please feel free to put your queries in the comment section and we'll be more than happy to answer it for you. Subscribe to our channel if you have not yet subscribed. Like this video if you found it to be useful. Share it with your friends because sharing is caring. And I'll meet you next week with yet another very interesting episode of Big Ki Pathshala. Till then, stay happy, stay blessed, and have a great weekend. Bye-bye.